Good morning. James Castorena, You First Integrative Wellness. Today is Thursday, September 18th, and I wanted to kind of come into this one a bit raw, unedited. Uh, wanted to give you guys a real take on some things, and I have two main messages with this video that I want to send out there. So, first of all, for those of you that don't know, September is Suicide Prevention Month, and I'm a huge advocate for suicide prevention and have been for a very long time, probably the better part of the last 20 years. And I thought that it was important that I share part of my story as to why. Um, and to give you a little bit of insight about myself. First of all, I'll start off. I'm actually a mental health counselor in the state of New Jersey, and I'm also licensed over in Pennsylvania. That's some of these pieces of paper behind me. And I just wanted to share that with you because I might be a therapist, but I'm also a human being. And I say that because it gives me a unique perspective on the story I'm about to tell you. So I will say this. I've been struggling with major depression off and on for the better part of those 20 years, probably 25 years, or probably since I was a teenager. And to say that it's been easy or that I've just been sad here and there would be a understatement. I would be a huge understatement. I have myself faced, suicidal ideation over the years. Thankfully, I've never attempted anything. I will admit that I've never attempted anything, but I've been in some pretty tight situations, if you will, some dire situations, and I just and I will share that the worst it ever got was when I was 25 years old. I was, or was it? I was 20. Yeah, I was 25. I was going through a lot. I was getting burnt out by work. I was actually already a therapist. I was had my first license, my provisional license, and I was working 12, 13-hour days as a therapist, which is not good. 5 days a week at least. And I had some family issues going on, some personal issues, relationship issues, and it got to a point. And it perseverated to the point I really lost track of who I was. I was in a bit of a codependent relationship at the time, and not a bit. I was in a codependent relationship, and I had isolated myself from a lot of people that were important to me, my friends, my family. I would wake up, go to work, felt like I was an empty vessel, if you will, just on autopilot, going through the motions, come home around 7, 8 o'clock at night, crash into my bed, essentially. Just rinse, lather, repeat. Weekends were never really. I was so burnt out that I was pretty much just staying home, not doing anything. And everything finally came to a head. And I remember I was having pretty severe thoughts of suicide and hurting myself for probably about a month leading up to the night. I had some pretty heavy duty news hit me in regards to my relationship. I'm not going to get into too many specifics there, but it was enough to send me over the edge. I started having a major breakdown, and I had the just enough wits about me. It was a Sunday night. I won't forget. It was about a Sunday night around 10:30 at night, and I was just like, my mind started racing. I felt like I was about to follow through on an impulse, and I thought that I was getting ready to jump in my car and just take off, and whatever stopped me in my way was going to stop me. I said, that's not me. And I had one little bit of just an ounce of rational thought. I said, I can't do this. I needed to get help, and I actually called the National Suicide Prevention Hotline and this wonderful lady, stranger to this day. I still don't know who she was. I don't even remember her name, but I remember she was able to talk me through it. Assessed me over the phone, and I said I feel like I need to go to the hospital, and I was in tears. I was in shambles, and I said, I need help. And she stayed on the line. She contacted the local authorities. A police officer came out, and while I was on the phone, I actually I mentioned to my roommate, I said, hey, probably going to be going away for a few days. I didn't give him too many specifics. I just said I'm having a bit of a breakdown here. So he could watch my pets while I was away. And he did. And they took care of my pets. And I ended up getting taken to the hospital, to the ER. That was a experience in itself. And what was interesting is actually that night, and maybe he'll see this, I don't know. One of my classmates from grad school actually was one of the screeners that night. And he came out throughout the night. And I mean, I was up all night. I did not sleep. And I just kept thinking, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what, what am I doing with my life? You know, and he came out and he kept checking on me throughout the night. And to this day, I don't know if he understands how much I appreciate that and how grateful I am for that. That was 10 years ago, and I still remember, like, he even brought me stuff to color, because they take everything from you when you're, a risk to yourself. They're not going to let you keep your, anything on you. You're not allowed to have your phone. There's a lot of things you're not allowed to have, so they rip everything away. And then the next morning, they admitted me. They took me to the hospital. I'll never forget. I freaked out in the inpatient unit. I was like, because I just was like, I finally, like, for one, I hadn't slept in probably 36 hours. Like, had any sleep at all. So that was number one. But I was like, I don't belong here. I was screaming at the nurses. I was not in the right frame of mind. But once I got some sleep, I apologized the next morning. That was Tuesday by the time I had finally come around. But what I will say is, by the time that I was in there for about 3.5 days. I was in there for about 4 days altogether, and honestly, I needed it. I needed that. The people and again, it's not something I ever wish for anyone to have to experience, to have their mind go to that dark place. And again, even going through that whole process, through crisis, being inpatient, it's traumatizing. I know that. So when I send someone to crisis, I know what they're about to get themselves into, and I really don't. I try not to send someone unless I really have to. And I try to always explain that to my clients. I'm like, listen, I will share that with them. Like, listen, I've been there. It's not a fun place, but sometimes it's a necessity. I'd rather somebody be mad at me and alive than, 6 feet under the next day. And I can't carry that with me. But those 3 or 4 days when I was in there, I used it as a hard reset. And I hope that other people do as well. And, I learned that through that experience, you're not alone. I mean, I had strangers helping me. I had, like, former classmates. It was just coincidence. He happened to be one of the screeners that night at the local hospital. I've had a lot of friends over the years. My current girlfriend, I had a lot of family and friends that have helped me, and I'm going to say this, like, once your mind has gone there, it's very easy for it to fall back into that dark place that it once went to. And I'm not going to say it's always there, but when you're having moments, like, it's hard for it not to cross your mind. And, it's never worth it. I can tell you that right now. It's never worth to actually follow through on that. There are a lot of people that care about you. And, you aren't alone. As human beings, we were never meant to function alone. We're social creatures. We do rely on each other to even just some basic extent, right? Your milk at the grocery store doesn't get there because, you're the one that went to the farm and got the milk from the cow, and then, you're not the one that drove it in the truck to the supermarket. Like, there are people that we depend on to get those things to us. And I think that people underestimate how important that is. And to also get the help that you need, and ever since then, I was taking therapy seriously even prior to that, but it really kicked in after that. And I've been in therapy now consistently for about 12 years. And I go almost every week. I can tell you right now, there are very few weeks I miss. And and when I'm starting to feel in a dark place, I speak up. I talk to the people that are important to me, and it's hard to do that because I think sometimes it scares the people around us. But like I said, I'd rather speak up and, give those words, or to say those words to someone, because I know that they care. I know that people care and love about me, or they care about me and love me. Say, like I said, raw and unedited. You're getting it today. And I really want people to know you are not alone at all. I can't say that enough. There are plenty of people that will help you as long as you have to say something. And it's just something that I stand. I don't want someone to become their own worst enemy, because that's often what it is. Your mind, you feel like there's no other option, right? You experience this phenomenon called cognitive narrowing, where you hone in on suicide as the only option to end everything. It's not the only option. Sometimes just by talking to someone, you start to realize that, right? And it's hard. It is hard to pull yourself out of that. Sometimes it's hard to pull yourself out of the situation you're in. But guess what? You're here. You're alive. And I would say 99% of the situations that we experience, probably more than that, all right, it's 0.00001% that could be fatally dangerous, right? Most situations you're going to make it through. And again, you're going to do so with the right support in place, whether that be personal support, professional support, whatever that may be. And I also wanted to share this message today because it is something that is so near and dear to my heart. I'm actually going to be starting a program through my practice. It started up last week, and for those of you that don't know, we actually have worked very closely with a local suicide prevention foundation called the Dylan Hart Foundation. I'll put a link somewhere down below. Dylan was a client of mine. I can share that. His mom, I know, has been, she and I have been we've stayed in touch over the years, and he unfortunately did complete the act. And if you want to read up on his story, like I said, I'll be more than happy to share the link below. And I've worked very closely with her to make sure that we're raising funds for the Dylan Hart Foundation, that local schools can have resources, mental health resources, that individuals that have struggled with their own mental health, their own depression, they receive scholarships, high school students. Last year alone, my practice raised over $1,000, and that was through a different program that we had. And I'm hoping to expand that program in a sense. So I'm calling it the Heart to Heart program, HEART, to Heart, Dylan Hart. I want to be able to pay it forward, because when I was in my darkest times, I had both professional and personal support that bent over backwards to make sure that I got through what I was going through. I had therapists that cut me a break with finances when I didn't have insurance, and I was living paycheck to paycheck, and they, my therapist knew where I was financially, and but she also knew where I was mentally, and she wasn't just going to give up on me. And to this day, I still remember that. And, and then also, like I said, just the people around me that kept me afloat, and, were always willing to stop what they were doing to talk to me and listen and give me advice if I asked for it, or problem solve, or whatever I needed. Even just a distraction. Let's hang out. Come over. Just let's watch a show. Whatever. And I want to do that now for other individuals that were in a similar position. So I'm asking you, and also whomever you may know that is an advocate for mental health, suicide prevention, to, if you could, even share this video, share the link that I will be sharing, that I'll be putting below. I'm starting the Heart to Heart Fund, where I would like for people to be able to pay it forward to other individuals so they can get the help that they need. I'm going to be starting this fund in order to have individuals that can pay for other people's sessions. So there are plenty of people, especially now, that can't afford mental health. They can't afford therapy. They can't afford health insurance. And they're some of the people that need it the most, for just the situations that they're dealing with. And so my promise is that for every $50 raised, I'm going to offer a free session in exchange for that. So, for instance, if we raised $500, I will have 10 open sessions that we will be able to offer. That is a promise. And then 25% of that, so if we did 50, or like I said, if it's $500, $125 of that is going to go to the Dylan Hart Foundation. And that way, other individuals that, adolescents, kids, teenagers, young adults, who are greatly affected by what's going on in our social climate and just, the last 5-10 years, it almost doesn't feel like it. They can receive the help and the resources that they need in today's world. So I would like if our community could come together and to raise money for this fund, and in a sense that we can provide. Again, that money is going to be just enough to cover some overhead, the staff, and again, I'm giving 20. I make that promise. I will happily share receipts online if you need me to. I will do what I need to do. I would like for 25% of that to go to the Dylan Hart Foundation. And as I've mentioned already, we've raised $300, so that alone will be 6 sessions for someone. And some people can show a change in as little as 6 sessions, like success, like actually in their mental health. So in as little as 6 weeks, people can experience symptom relief, come out of depression. They can, especially if it's situational. I will be honest, I haven't exactly put the specifics in place for the program for the clients that'll be coming in. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to put a limit on it, but this is going to be an ongoing thing. I am not going to make this a one-time thing. I'm not going to be like, okay, whatever we get at the end of the month, that's it. If this fund starts to take off and we can have people that continuously replenish it, there may be people that might need more than those 6 sessions, 10 sessions, 12, whatever, right? And if I can continue to give them the help that they need at that rate, and also still continue to contribute to this foundation that here in Southern New Jersey has, wanted to help other people that were in a very similar situation as me and to try to prevent what happened to Dylan. So if you could, I understand not everybody has the money. Like I said, even $1, anything would be enough. I know even just on my Facebook page, if everybody donated, that would be enough for 40 sessions, somewhere in that ballpark. So if you can, or at the very least, share the message, maybe share this to someone that can help contribute to this fund. Again, I really am about giving back. I want to bring a sense of community back to mental health. And I hope that, if you are struggling, please reach out for help. I mean, there are so many resources now. Your friends, your family. You can text now. You can just text 988. There's plenty of professional help. You can call 911 if you're really in that much of a situation. I called the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, right? I mean, and that, you want to talk about feeling shame. I was like, I need this, right? I had to swallow my pride for that moment and just say, I got to do this. So, just understand that at the very least, I don't want to hear your story. I don't want to hear the bad news, the tragic news. I want to, if you are struggling and eventually one day I talk to you, I want to be able to talk to you. I want to hear from you. I hate hearing those stories. And understand, even from afar, someone cares about you, and that, I care, as puzzling as that may seem, I do care. So please, let's spread the message, suicide prevention and, mental health awareness. Please. It's something that a lot of us do suffer with. All right. Again, signing off, James Castorina, You First Integrative Wellness. Thank you again.